rest with a forcing no test. I would sleep but I wake up dead. I can't release my soul, I am forced to be. Gotta be true, I cannot force you. Would you put all your hope in me? Yeah, I'm gone on a record, the maelstrom don't wait for me. So cut all the lines, you'll be free. Yeah, I'm gone on a record, the maelstrom don't wait for me. So cut all the lines, you'll be free. Yeah, yeah. You know what time it is. It's Quarantine Stream time. Where's my phone? Where's my phone vibrating? Can I have my phone? Thank you. Here we are. It is Thursday evening. Everyone's starting live videos on Instagram, and I'm here on youtube.com/Arshies, or just look up LOKK9, twitch.tv/itsLok9, LOKK9, if where you find your internet, and you go and do things on the internet and get your internet. We're here, it's Thursday, it's Quarantine Stream. Hello, thank you for joining me. How are you? I'm okay, thanks for asking. Here we are. It's Thursday, and absolutely nothing interesting or consequential is happening in the world right now. There's literally nothing going on. It's practically boring with how little is actually happening. So for that reason, we're gonna have a little stream a little later than normal, and I realized again I missed Monday because I forgot, so I was doing other stuff, which I think other stuff was like watching Bake Off or something like that, and eating dinner.
so I forgot to stream on Monday. I think next time I'll try to set like an alarm or something. But here we are today, a little late. I had some business to attend to earlier today, so we're having a late one. And we're talking about, there's not much to talk about because there's really nothing going on. We can talk a little bit. I don't want to say I don't care about the presidential election. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to look up, we're going to see, by the way, hello, welcome to the stream Monday and Thursdays, YouTube and Twitch. Mondays 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Daylight Time, I guess. Thursdays around 3:45 p.m. Same time zone. Mondays the gaming streams, which we haven't really been doing. Again, I hope to get back into Kentucky Route Zero, so I shouldn't have anything coming up, so I should be good for Monday. Thursdays are we sit and chat. I have a new track out today. I could talk about it a little bit. And I might actually later, towards the end of the stream, I might play a little bit and talk a bit about it. Today, I actually want to go through, I haven't gone through and looked at all the results from California, the California general election. There are some things that I'm aware of, such as Prop 22 passing by 1 million votes, which is very disheartening and also scary for a number of reasons. George Gascon beating out Jackie Lacey for the Los Angeles District Attorney, which is cause for some celebration. Kudos to Black Lives Matter Los Angeles for keeping the heat on Lacey for the past few years, and paving the way for a new district attorney to take over one of the largest economies in the world. And as goes LA, as goes a lot of other places, which is, when things happen over here, it's like very consequential, whether it's good or bad. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about that. And I also want to go through some of my October. This is also the October follow-up stream where I talk a little bit about that whole experience. And, we just have a good time just hanging out and listening to some tunes maybe, and, doing stuff like that. So here we are. Here's what I'm going to do. Let's see. California election results. Also, by the way, I was going to get my laptop and stream with the webcam and everything, but I was too lazy. And also, Laura wants to play video games, so that's what she's doing. So what's that? See it, Uncle? No. Because if I just go to like a 35 days left, state ballot measures. Wow. So I want to actually run everybody through kind of what I went with in terms of voting. It's pretty much the past few years. This is sort of my jumping off point for elections in my area. Obviously, like, my city is a pretty small city, so they don't really have all this stuff for this in particular. But the state stuff and the county stuff is helpful. So I'm gonna kind of just go through what I was looking at. Mostly just the state ballot measures, and maybe a race here or there. Now I'll just look at the state ballot measures, because these get a little bit, these get a little wacky, right? They're so specific. They're explained in completely different ways than what they actually do. And the legislation is often, when they're written by people who know what they're doing and who have the money to, like, make sure that the legislation is as it needs to be on paper, it's very, very confusing if you're actually to read it. And obviously the short descriptions that they have on the ballot and on voting guides really does not give you the full story when it comes to any of these propositions. So we have Prop 14. I think this is like further funds for like stem cell research, which sounds fine. However, if you're looking at the fine print, the results of publicly funded research should be provided to the public at a reasonable cost. Unfortunately, Prop 14 perpetuates the lack of accountability and makes it worse by exempting its programs from legislative oversight, with any amendment requiring a 70% vote, which is insane. This is like, that's never going to happen. These flaws might be due to a real estate developer putting this measure on the ballot without even direct input from the existing stem cell board, the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine. Finally, as a bond measure, Californians will have to pay back nearly double the amount that we borrow from wealthy people to finance it. Also, we have like crazy high interest. We support stem cell research, which is already legal and underway in California for over a decade, but Prop 14 isn't necessary and will undermine the public interest. So yeah, stem cell stuff sounds nice, all well and good, but again, you gotta have to be on top of what is actually in the bill, and it passes, of course. Prop 15, Schools and Communities First, is on the ballot this November with the goal of ending a tax loophole that gives billions of dollars a year to large commercial property owners and wealthy investors. It reallocates these funds to K-12 public schools, community colleges, and local public services such as parks, libraries, homeless services, health clinics, and public transit. Prop 15 will claim 10 to 12 billion annually by requiring wealthy owners of commercial properties with assessed value over $3 million to pay taxes based on market value rather than purchase price. So this was being sold as it's going to raise your grandma's taxes on her house, and people are hard hit by the coronavirus. It's always like, whenever you watch the ads and stuff for these different props, whether it's yes or no, they always like say, it almost sounds like whether you vote yes or no, it doesn't matter, because it's like, if you vote yes, it's going to hurt poor people and working people who are struggling due to corona, and if you vote no, it's going to hurt blah blah, you know what I mean? Like, there's the way we decide legislation in this state is pretty nuts. You could have incredibly consequential legislation voted in by proposition that is very hard to undo, and it kind of goes to the highest bidder, really, who's able to California has its own characteristics, like California is like seen as a liberal bastion, but it's not really that friendly to underprivileged groups if you're looking at the way we vote. And yes, of course, this did not pass. This one seemed pretty a no-brainer. This proposition undoes the 1996 Prop 209 California Civil Rights Initiative, which sounds nice but wasn't. It was introduced by the high-rolling white Southern California Republicans that were defending their right to be at the front of the line no matter what, even if they were late. Prop 209 essentially banned any form of affirmative action in public education, public employment, or public contracting, and really caused Black and Latino enrollment in the UC system to plummet. Prop 209 thought reverse racism a thing. Prop 16 says it is not. So basically, and I maybe it was confusing the way it was worded on the ballots, but it's basically just like, can your background be used to help determine, for education and employment? Are they going to look at these different characteristics of your from underprivileged backgrounds? Are they allowed to take that into account, or are they just going to treat that as an invisible factor? And we understand how that works out. We generally, your success is sort of determined by the zip code that you were born in, and so on. So we did not pass that one by pretty wide margins. On this one, the last one, not a huge margin, I guess I would say. This next one is great. Changes the California Constitution allow people on parole for felony convictions to vote. Everyone that wants to vote should be able to vote, period. And I believe, is that all, or was it also that kind of like how Florida did, where they allowed people who were previously convicted of felonies to vote, but then they added like some like fucking poll tax on top of that, kind of rendering that useless. But this one seemed a no-brainer to me. More people should be able to vote. We were educated in the country about no taxation without representation as the beginnings of our, the union and such, and our rebellion against the empire. And yet, if you are, caught up in what, we all seem to now realize is how twisted and cruel our criminal justice system is. But no, if you go through that, and you come out, you can't work, you can't vote, but you still got to pay taxes, and, and people will keep an extra eye on you. So this is good. 18 seemed like such a no-brainer. Well, how did that lose? It's literally just like, if you're going to turn 18 in a general, you should be able to vote in a primary. I don't know if this is strategic voting from like a block of conservative voters who realize that this might likely push voting blocks to the left. Although kids even vote that much? Like, are people under 30 really voting? I guess I'll have to look at the statistics from this past election, but this was an interesting one. This is another one that was sold as just helping your grandma not get kicked out of her house. So here's what do they have to say? It's no wonder that realtors are spending millions to push Prop 19. It will increase displacement in rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods while draining the state treasury to give some of the wealthier people in society more property tax breaks. Specifically, it will limit the value of the capped assessment that children who live in their parents' home can get to $1 million, allowing the value above that amount to be assessed at a higher rate. $1 million is already less than the market value of increasing numbers of houses in areas like the Crenshaw District and Echo Park that working class families used to be able to afford. Having to pay property tax on the full market value above the cap will force these working families to sell and move out. So Prop 19 increased the number of times homeowners can claim this cap from once to 3 times, further increasing inequality while removing the current cap on houses inherited by people who don't live in as good in your American Civil. Some causes more harm than good. Some people might confuse this with Prop 15 because both change property taxes, but there couldn't be more difference because people know no on Prop 19. Honestly, I couldn't. I was like, oh yeah, there was 2 fucking property tax things on the ballot, and it's like, again, we're voting on these things, and millions of people are voting on these things, and I don't know how many of these millions of people knew what they're voting on. I jump off from this. If something seems fishy to me, I'll look at it, but even occasionally I will dig into bills and legislation and try to read it and try to make sense of it, but I don't do that too often, and I don't know too many people who do, unless they really have a chip on their shoulder about something, which we'll get into. But yes, that went and passed. Prop 20. In 2011, the Supreme Court ordered the state of California to immediately let people out of jail so that their prisons were no more than 137% over capacity. Many jails are still in violation of this and operating at over 130% capacity, which is cruel to people and a great way to spread COVID-19. No kidding. In 2014, Prop 47 turned some felonies into misdemeanors: shoplifting, theft of 950, personal use of most illegal drugs. And people convicted of those crimes were eligible to come out of jail. 2 years later, Prop 57 changed the rules around parole, allowing people convicted of non-violent offenses to be eligible for parole and requiring judges rather than prosecutors to decide whether or not to charge juveniles as adults. Because these are basically the bad guys in the legal system in a lot of these cases. Throwing the book at poor people all around the world. Tough on crime politicians blame the rise in homelessness on Props 47 and 57. Prop 20 would turn some of these measures back so that it would be easier to put people in jail and change some misdemeanors back into felonies at a judge's discretion. The proposition also includes language allowing for the collection of DNA samples. That's a big-ass red flag for state and federal crime databases. Oh, like I said, a red flag given the myriad ways California police can abuse that sort of information. This prop is being heavily funded by the Fraternal Order of Police, the Prison Guards Union, and the Police Union because it gives them the two things they love most: more hours to work overtime and more freedom to put more people in jail. Overtime, no kidding. Our cops are the highest paid public servants other than college football coaches, in this country. The overtime they make is, seems like a scam. Let's see. Did not pass. Cool. I forgot how this was being sold. But that's a good one. Prop 21. This modifies Costa-Hawkins, eliminating the statewide requirement that rent control cannot be applied to any housing built more recently than 1995. And imposes a new rolling rent control so that any housing unit over 15 years old would be eligible for local rent control policy. The measures allow for vacancy control to be implemented where it already exists but is not currently allowed by Costa-Hawkins. According to a study from Stanford, people who lived in rent-controlled properties when Costa-Hawkins was passed ended up saving a cumulative total of $7 billion over 18 years, which is a hell of an argument that rent control is a big tool to have when trying to solve our homelessness crisis. Now, California, the state of gentrification that is increasingly becoming harder and harder to afford to live in, where buying foreclosed homes, fixing them up slightly, and then selling them at massive profit is a legitimate and reasonable profession to have. What do you think we did? We said no to rent control again, just like the last time we voted on it. When people talk about homelessness problem in California, I feel like most people don't necessarily care that it's the fact that people have nowhere to live, and that they're particularly vulnerable during, health crises like a pandemic. It's more like we don't like that there's dirty people in the streets and it looks bad, and we want poor people to go somewhere else. So, again, the liberal bastion that is California, this is what we say to affordable housing. Get these motherfuckers out of here. That is the nature of our state, at least in terms of our voting. But I think this is a decent reflection. Now on to my fucking favorite. I don't need these guys to tell me why Prop 22 is a bunch of bullshit, because I've talked to you guys about that. You know what I'm gonna say. It's a fucking scam. It was a scam. It's pay to win. It's anti-democratic. And it's purely for the benefit of these companies. It has nothing to do with benefiting workers. All the misleading, insidious ads that I had to, when I go and, walk by the living room when the TV's on. God, this is really this is a dangerous one, because Uber, Lyft, these tech companies spent $200 million on a single piece of legislation in a state. Obviously, it's California. It has big implications across the country. So, for the quick story on that, AB 5 passed last year, Assembly Bill 5, and it was sort of making specifications based on earlier ruling or bill or something like that, as it says here, AB 5 reclassified gig employees as the employees of the companies they work for, not independent contractors. This meant that their employers had to pay the minimum wage, and all other worker protections from the state and federal government applied to the people from whose labor they were profiting. Specifically what this means, the gig economy, Uber drivers, DoorDash, all that stuff. If your tech company is huge and has a lot of money, or, basically, other than a few exemptions, if you meet these different criterias of what an employee is, you're an employee of the person that is, making use of your labor. And this was specifically meant to go after rideshare, Uber and Lyft. There's been a lot of backlash, from the musician community. Lots of people are saying they hate it and they can't gig. I haven't been able to experience it much because we've been on lockdown since March, and the early part of the year is the slow part of the year for me anyway, so I wasn't doing much anyway. So whatever those people's concerns and complaints are, I'm sure they it's not all bullshit. But what is bullshit is companies spending $200 million to purchase signatures, to get the petition signatures so they can get this bill on the ballot this year. Spend millions in research, in companies who specialize, the worst entities in our politics, where the parts of it that are all fueled by money, to make ads and harass people and so on and so forth. Again, I've talked about this in one of the streams. And essentially it's pay to win. It takes advantage of the way our legislative system, our voting system works. And what will $200 million buy you? Over 7 million votes to 5 million. And the right to not pay your employees and pay for their benefits, among other things. And this will have repercussions down the line. I know there are people who don't like AB 5 and they think that it's hurting their industries. But I struggle to imagine who these fucking gig workers are who are going to be able to put together $200 million fucking dollars in order to buy legislation the next time we vote on state measures, because they think that puts a hole in this bill that they don't like, which it does, but only for rideshare drivers. That's it. If you look at the legislation, it only applies to app-based drivers, to rideshare drivers. It applies to literally no one else. And I think that because there's this hole blown in to this bill, then it's all going to fall apart. Well, there were already a bunch of other exemptions to this bill in the first place, so one more is not really going to do anything. You think you can tick away at it, but meanwhile, we're just letting labor rights continue to wither away in this state. So this is really, really not just disappointing. This is very concerning. This is a fucking bad omen. This one really fucking sucks. But let's move on. 23. Oh yeah. This is the one where Here, I'll just read this. They do a decent job of laying it out. Kidney dialysis centers are, for some reason, not subjected to the same levels of oversight as other healthcare centers. They go largely unregulated and cause harm not only to people's health but also to their finances. Prop 23 requires that dialysis centers have a licensed physician or a nurse practitioner on site during treatment in outpatient facilities. You might think to yourself, why isn't there already a doctor on site? How is there not a doctor on site? They are cleaning people's actively circulating blood. How is this legal? Basically, I don't understand. Yeah, critical healthcare is being administered by people who don't have the credentials. But yes, this was being sold as this is going to hurt people who need kidney dialysis. There's patients that are going to die because it's going to be so hard to get a doctor at these places. And again, sort of like some of the labor laws, like it does make things more difficult, but there's a reason. This state legislation that comes in these piecemeal ways, it's not generally the best way to tackle some of these larger issues. Sometimes it's a no-brainer. I think to me, this seems like a no-brainer. Some of the other ones, like letting felons vote and stuff like that, no-brainer. But yeah, these get sold as like they're gonna ruin something. And again, it might make it more difficult. But a lot of these centers, they go over the stats here. The money's there. If people die, it's not going to be because of that they're required to have, someone with the right, higher credentials to be there for a medical procedure. It's because, the money wasn't sweet enough for somebody, or they need an excuse to fight this down the line, so they'll gamble on people's lives. So yeah, that got smashed because they sold it really well. This one is interesting. This one, this is really, Prop 24, very granular. That's a interesting one. If you want to get in the nitty gritty, I suggest you read this one yourself. But basically, it was like, here, I'll just read the first paragraph. Prop 24 is tricky and everyone seems to be at odds on it. In theory, Prop 24 would establish the California Privacy Protection Agency, which enforces legislation targeting companies that don't respect that you pushed a button on a Condé Nast site saying you don't want them to sell your data. It also closes a loophole in the California Consumer Privacy Act of 2018, which allows Facebook and Google to say they are sharing instead of selling your data. Supporters of the measure will say it will give consumers more control over their personal data, allow you to shield your precise location from tracking, and give you more ability to sue companies if your email and password are stolen or hacked, which sounds good because who isn't for suing companies that let your life get ruined? On the other hand, folks like the ACLU say it makes confusing changes before the full California Consumer Privacy Act has taken effect and will make it harder for the legislature to go back and add fixes for any unintended consequences that arise later. It will delay a rule in the California Consumer Privacy Act that allows workers to find out what information employers have collected about them, make it easier for business to charge you more if you don't let them sell your data, and allow tech companies to grab your data when you leave California. That all sounds bad. So it's one of those things where it's like, it sounds nice, but there was something already sort of going in this direction in our legislation. So this is sort of sidestepping that, and the implications and the effects, we'll have to see. Let's see. Prop 25. Oh, that passed, by the way. Prop 25. We advocate for prison abolition. This will have the opposite effect. Don't be fooled. Prop 25 automates racial profiling through algorithms, gives unchecked power to judges, and increases power and funding for probation departments. Nor do we support keeping bail bonds. Instead, we support Measure J, which includes elements of pretrial reform as well as a zero bail schedule, similar to what California court temporarily implemented for COVID-19 this spring. This was basically like, this was being sold as like, a sort of like Black Lives Matter proposition where it's like we're gonna get rid of bail bonds. Instead, we're gonna have this like algorithmic system decide like who gets to be on probation and parole and stuff like that. And it's dicey one. Measure J, yeah, did I get to vote on Measure J? I think I did. Was that county? Yeah, LA County Measure J. We should have 10% of unrestricted county funding away from law enforcement into services and programs for under-resourced communities. LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva is absolutely furious that the ballot measure is making its way onto the ballot because it takes money away from the LA County Sheriff's Department, which has a shitload of money. While the ballot measure does call for access to capital for small minority-owned businesses with focus on black-owned businesses, the other things it calls for are rent assistance, housing vouchers, and accompanying supportive services for those at risk of losing their housing or without stable housing, capital funding for transitional, affordable, and supportive housing, job training for the construction of that housing, as well as alternatives to incarceration, including community-based restorative justice programs, pretrial non-custody services and treatment, and community-based health services, health promotion, counseling, wellness, and prevention programs, and mental health and substance use disorder services. All these things are absolutely worth letting that one business-friendly part of the measure fly. Yes, this is the like defund the police measure, and I want to see LA Measure J. We passed it, which is fantastic for our county. Los Angeles, I don't know if this applies to LAPD, but their budget is insane. And this is basically what people are talking about with defund the police, shifting money away from law enforcement, which doesn't help. I think we went over a study that in one of the streams about how more money in police does not mean better community, less crime, anything like that. It doesn't correlate. What does correlate is when a community has these kind of resources for people, whether it's provided through government spending or if the community itself just has a bunch of money already for its people because they're rich or whatever. So this is that. So again, we have some ups and downs. I'm gonna Google how did Shahid do? I'm curious. I'm sure he got creamed, but yeah, it's tough. I fucking hate Democrats. I need to talk about that a whole totally different stream. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be on it forever. But goddamn Democrats. Oh god. I could talk about how, remember when people were saying that Bernie would be bad for down ballot races, and how because the Republicans dared to go against and be hypocritical and push through a Supreme Court nominee in an election year that they would lose big in the Senate, and how the Dems lost House seats, I think. And did they pick up anything in the Senate? What a fucking joke. Anyway, this shit is depressing. Let's talk about some music. Here we are. October. Give me a second. October. You know it, you love it. It was really good this year. I think I missed about a week, like 7 days total, which, whatever. I had an injury. We were recovering from a trip. We had other stuff coming up, it happens. But it was kind of cool to be doing while on the trip and have like different things to sort of inspire me and be sort of limited in certain things that I could do, which kind of like boosts your creativity because you look up different ways to sort of get around your limitations on the road. And I really got to I just kind of let loose and did whatever. And like, I don't listen to as much music. It kind of reminds me of like people who are like just killing musicians right now. And they're like, I used to practice 10 hours a day when I was like 13, but now I don't really do that anymore. I guess my practicing was when I was younger, and I could sit there and listen to an album and do nothing else. And I can go back and listen to another album, or I can listen to one album over and over and over again, or listen to the same song over and over and over again. I don't listen to music that much anymore, and I get a lot more of a general sense of it. Every now and again, I pick up on specific things, and I like to watch a lot of YouTube music theory kind of stuff. Like Adam Neely's more like music philosophy, but then there's like 12 Tone. I watch 8-Bit Music Theory. There's a channel, I think it's Jazz Duets or something like that. He talks about, learning about harmony and different compositional techniques and things like that, and just taking it in, even just taking it in like casually like that. Over time, you pick up on, you start to get in the mind. Because I've always been someone like I want to listen to music, I want to embody it and listen to it carefully. But my theory training in school was crazy. So I came away out of college having really, really terrible practical use of harmony and music theory. But I've been trying to get better at that. And like whenever I wrote, even to this day, I think about it a little bit, but when I was really prolific with my songwriting stuff from like 2011 to 2013, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing in terms of like theory, but I just followed my ear and I was able to do interesting things because I wanted to go outside of what my own expectations were. Plus I like to listen to music, and I try to listen to a lot of different music. And now I continue to do that, although not as much, but I'm thinking about things differently, and I think it shows that I'm able to pull from different things. It wasn't too difficult. There's a strange energy it takes, even just doing a little minute-long things every day, to where I just find myself kind of drained. Like, not necessarily like I don't have any ideas, but like literally I'm just like physically tired. So I think we'll close out the stream. Maybe we'll just pick some of my favorites. Maybe I'm not gonna listen to all of them. So let's just kind of look. These first couple were fun. Cause like, wait, let me see. How many did I post? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then 3 of them are kind of the same thing, but So I'm gonna go over a couple of them. Oh, this rap one is funny. Let's just listen to this. This is gonna be the opener. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna listen to it because it's funny.
Mac, got to
Yeah, the one I did.
slap the gas slap, fat tax on ass claps. Lost income is very spooky, unemployment very kooky. Don't misfile urine dookie. Congress got me feeling fluky, tookie. Spot me while I run into this tree and I'm hooting, hollering, killer thriller, hee hee. Phil Collins, feel the rain come down on me. Hear that ticking, talking, so paddle faster, Mr. Smee. Yeah, go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.
I had to do quite a few takes of that one, so I kept cracking up.
Black cats, black.
I like obviously the Michael Jackson he is funny. I like the Phil Collins thing because I was watching you guys seen the video where it's like Vegeta standing in the rain, and then while the Phil Collins Feel It in the Air Tonight is playing. That's what I was thinking of. Phil Collins, Feel the Rain Come Down on Me. I was just trying to like put in random raps and like little turns of phrases and just kind of be having a good time. The kalimba one was fun, because I was just like, oh, there's a kalimba here, let's use it. I want to do 5 against 7, and then I was like, I'm gonna try to do it one pattern on each thumb, and I was like, oh, I can't play the kalimba, I fucking suck, that's way too hard. So I just did one take at a time, and I just posted one each day. I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm gonna listen a little bit so you can get the feel of the 5 pattern. Prop 22 is a scam. Vote no, California, or not. So you have the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's it. Basically what I did is I set a metronome to something reasonable, and then I was like, I'm gonna fit 5 into here. So bum 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 3 4 da ga do 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 ga do do go do ga do do go do ga. And then I was like, I gotta fit I had to fit 7 in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just fit those counts into that beat in the metronome, added my ear, and then as long as I line up the downbeats, I should be good. That's basically what I did. So let's listen to this whole thing, because it's a fun one. A little picture. Yeah, and this is the trip where I was like really like learning how to use my GoPro. Obviously it's a little sloppy. We'll talk about it in a second. Chord at the end, yeah. I talk about it in the post where I'm like, yeah, it doesn't have that like polyrhythmic groove because I'm not really that locked in, but it's a kalimba and it sounds nice and cascadey and maybe it like puts you to sleep or whatever. Was this Tacit? This is the clapping game. Is this the whistling one? Oh, that's the whistling one. And then this one, I thought was cool. Actually, we were trying to do this for like days, but our voices weren't having it. Yeah, let's listen to this one. This one's cool. Oh, the car's so loud. We were in Texas. The roads in Texas suck. And then I just remembered, yeah, I based that off of this little trumpet thing I did a few days earlier. Obviously it doesn't sound exactly the same, but it was kind of based off of that. And I was just kind of inspired by the East Coast greenery and autumnal falliness. This one was funny. Oh, so I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna talk about this one. So this is one of our last days of the trip. We're in Arizona, and we planned to go horseback riding at a ranch. Yeah. And I think a day or so before, I think the day before, I got bit by some bugs or something in Texas. And at first it was just like, felt like a mosquito bite. It was just kind of itchy. And then overnight, we're trying to get stuff, I'm putting Benadryl and shit on my foot, my massive foot. We're gonna go and we're gonna see if we can do it. I'm gonna take a bunch of drugs and like put a patch on my back, and we're gonna try to make this happen. So we get there. She seems okay. My foot is jacked up, but whatever, I'll put a shoe on and should be fine. My foot, my whole leg up to my knee has swollen before, like twice the size, due to a bug bite. So I was like, I didn't die last time, so I'm probably okay now.
I'm scared to look at.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. But anyway, we're getting ready. We get there early. There's like a little outhouse so you can use the bathroom. It's like an outhouse, but like there's an actual toilet inside, although the water for the sink wasn't working. So we had to use hand sanitizer. I go in first and she's doing stuff, and then she goes in and she hands me the keys, and then I totally locked the keys in the front part of the car because I was like, I need to get something in the back, but I don't want to leave the door open because something might fly in. But I didn't realize I'd put the keys down, and so I go over and the door's locked on the rear side, and I was like, oh shit. I tried the door that I just closed. Oh shit, it's locked. So we spent like 45 minutes trying to figure that out with calling AAA and like getting absolutely no help, and they're confused because we're in Arizona, but our thing is for Southern California. And then they keep transferring us over, and then nothing is getting done. Okay, maybe we'll look for something, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, we're one of two parties it was us two and then a couple other people who were supposed to be doing the horseback riding trail that day, but they were late. And so they were saying, like, if they're not here by like 15 minutes after we're supposed to leave, we're getting out of here. So in their case, they were lucky because they got there, or I think it was 15 minutes before we were supposed to leave or something like that. I can't remember, but they got there late. And we would have left without them if we weren't trying to deal with, AAA and stuff like that. So we do the horseback riding thing. I locked my GoPro was in the fucking car, so I couldn't use it. And our horses are off munching on bushes and shit.
Yours was worse.
Yeah, mine was having it did not take my bullshit.
Mine just wanted to be the leader.
Yeah. But eventually they call and say that they can't because the way her car works, they just can't do it. So
I did it while I was horseback riding.
yeah, so we couldn't really talk to them since we were on horses. So we ended up having to wait for a locksmith in Tucson because we were so far away from anything else. And so we hung out for an hour and a half with a bunch of adorable old dogs that one by one came up to us and wanted pets. And we looked at horses, and it was actually pretty nice. And then I came up with a song about how AAA sucked.
Now they're supposed to give me a refund.
And now they might give her a refund.
So
but
that'll work out.
Yeah. So here we go. AAA, no help today. I locked myself out here, but you locked me out of here. So we must stay. Look at that. And all there is to say is why are we paying you?
2 eyes, you know.
The 2 eyes.
Yeah, you know.
Also, here's a bonus dog. Little Dorito.
Yeah.
I forget the actual dog names, but I called this one Dorito because it was sniffing a Dorito that I dropped.
Well, one was trying to be a therapy dog for me while I was.
Oh yeah, while she was on AAA and trying not to like break down because no one was helping, one of these dogs just like sauntered up and like put a paw on her back. It's like, hey, pet me. It was great. So that was fine. That was fun. Little song for AAA. Which one was this one? Oh, this is the weird vocal one. Oh, this one's kind of like a fake October. I'm not gonna listen to the whole thing because it's kind of long. But I explain it. I'm just gonna read what I said. I originally had this idea in June. I was inspired by and wanted to honor the people who put their bodies on the line to force a worldwide discussion on police brutality and systemic racism, among other things. I borrowed some ideas from the original tune, which referenced the radical abolitionist John Brown, the original camp tune of John Brown's Body, as well as the 20th century labor anthem Solidarity Forever, seeing this today as the anniversary of when John Brown led the raid on Harper's Ferry, one of the catalyzing events prior to the American Civil War, which ended chattel slavery in the U.S. and left to finish it. So this is better known as like Glory Hallelujah. I think of it as like a Civil War tune about how John Brown went and fucking took some motherfuckers out. He fucking he brought the fury on them and he got executed, and shortly thereafter was the War of Southern Aggression, which was about slavery, as we all know, because we're all reasonable people here. So I'll listen to a little bit and then I'll read the rest of the lyrics that I came up with. I wanted to do sort of a similar vibe as Solidarity Forever, but sort of adapt it a little bit more to sort of the current moment and sort of what some of the discussions that I was seeing and some of the things that I appreciated. So I'll listen to like the first stanza maybe, and then the refrain, and then I'll just read the rest.
What have we to lose by tearing down the structures that we made? We can build again with hammers fashioned from the chains we break. Once we're equaled in our dignity, true freedom can awake. Then a new world will be born. Rise up now, we fight for justice. Rise up now, we fight for justice. Rise up now, we fight for justice. A new world will be born.
So I had written all the lyrics already back in June, and I just was like not sure how I felt about it. I did the harmonies up to that point, and as well in June, and then I was like, oh, I have a day to have to figure out the rest of what I want to do for harmonies. So I kind of recycled a little bit, and I tried to keep it interesting. And I feel pretty good about this one at this point. Do not fear. So what have we to lose by tearing down the structures that we made? I was kind of talking about like tearing down statues and shit like that. People are complaining about history. We can build again with hammers fashioned from the chains we break. Once we're equal in our dignity, true freedom can awake, then a new world will be born. I think that's, I don't know, that's not, I try not to be too complicated. I wanted to be sort of like, metaphors and imagery, but not have it be too dense, because I can do that sometimes. But I wanted this to be very sort of clearly understandable and be sort of inspirational. Do not fear the unknown future when you've seen what came before. Let the dreams of those we lost live on and never go ignored. With all fire and compassion that a human can put forth, a new world will be born. This is a little more generic, but I wanted it to, this is like, here's what we can do. Don't be hesitant about it. We need to go forward, and we need to sort of like honor those who are left behind, in a sense. And fire and compassion. Again, this can all be read very generically, but I think in the context of everything else, there's a reason. They can try to break your body, but your soul they cannot cage. They can lock you into poverty, but your heart stays enraged. Armed with truth and history, nothing stops the people when engaged. A new world will be born. Again, I don't think that's very, it's not too deep, I just wanted to be evocative, but easy to understand. So you can listen to the whole thing. I think that one's at least on my YouTube, but I'm looking at my Instagram right now, as you can tell. What was this one? Oh, this is just me fucking around. Yeah. Let's do the Blister song. So part 2 of the Foot Saga. My foot swelled up. About 10 days later, the swelling went down, and the little bug bite bumps that I had started becoming these blisters. The blisters got exponentially larger over the next few days, to the point where it's like every few hours I can tell like it's definitely gotten bigger. Went from the size one day when it really started obviously growing, smaller than a dime, to maybe like the size of like $50, or something even larger. And it had some height to it too. Like there were 3 little distinct blisters that all combined into one mega blister. It was like I was walking around and I could feel like the skin stretching. It was terrible. But I finally went to the urgent care. I went to one doctor and they're like, I don't know, here's some antibiotics. I was like, that's not going to work. So I went to urgent care. They popped it. They gave me stuff for it. And it's still healing. Like it's mostly healed. But there's still some skin that needs to come back. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So this is a song about my blister. This is the day before I first went to the doctor, because it was getting really bad. But I made a song about it. So.
Got a big old blister on my foot. Hurts when I walk and that's not good. Looks real nasty, I admit. Them Texas bugs really got me bits. Foot swelled up 2 times the size. I've been before, so no surprise. Gotta stop wearing flip-flops in the Southwest. Them bunk skeeters did me wrong. Now I'm cursing them in a song. Yeah, pop, pop, oh, I'm waiting. Pain right now is so frustrating. I don't wanna think about this anymore. So yeah, stop, the blisters burning. No time to drop while the world keeps turning. One last thing before I'm sent to birth. Then these got a big old blister on.
Yeah, I started folky and then went to like a pop in the chorus. I thought that was funny. But that was fun. I did these like guitar texture ones because I was just thinking of like, if you do like a painting or a sculpture, it's a physical thing that someone can take in at their discretion. It is in the context, the environment that it's in. But other than that, like you can go there, you can touch it, you can smell it, you can look at it, and it's not linked to sort of like a temporal event. Unlike music, which is all about experiencing something in a span of time. You can't get away from the fact that a song is 3 minutes. You can make it shorter or longer using processing, but it's still a temporal experience. So I was trying to think of it like a texture or like an event versus like moving from A to B to C to D to E, which is basically how music is. It's direction over time. So I can't get away from that because there's attack and decay in this instrument, but I want to just kind of like mess around with just like, I'm just gonna do like a texture. This one is just because the guitar is tuned in fourth, except for going from the G to the B string, which is the third. So I just like, I'll just put my finger on the first fret of the B and E strings, the high E string, and then it'll be all fourths. So that's simple enough. And this is literally just a spooky cluster chord, and then if you hit the in between the where the neck starts, I forget what that part is, in like the head stock, it sounds weird and creepy. So I just did a cluster chord, which is just 3 notes directly next to each other, like half step apart. I had to do some fuckery with the tuning to make that work, because I could stretch my hand to make it work, and then just hitting those strings to make it sound weird. And then we can listen to how are we doing with the stream? How's everybody doing? Everyone left.
No. I'm here.
You're here. This is just a lick. I should have played this faster, but I couldn't. And then we did these two. This one, I just was like, I guess I'll write a march. So it's kind of a march. It's marchy. It's not. That's why I called it marchy. It's got a lot of march tropes, but it's not 100% march. But I basically just wrote it in like a couple hours, maybe. Fun little duet. We did a few takes, but I was like, God, I have no fucking chops. It's really tough. I try to practice, at least 6 days a week, but man, you don't have the same chops when you're not playing with other people and not playing gigs and rehearsals and stuff like that. I will tell you what. I did another one that's sort of an old school Dixie kind of jazz, very old school swing. And let's listen. Yeah, that one, I forget. I was gonna do something else. I was gonna do something else because there was like, Laura said something that sounded like a melody, and I was originally gonna do that, but I changed it. But basically, I think I was just like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, I thought of the intro, and I was like, okay, that'd be cool with the rising, that lick, that sequence, ba ba doo bop, ba ba doo bop, ba ba doo bop, and then having the horn rips kind of like accompany it with that syncopation. And then I just was like, okay, now we're just gonna do 12 bar blues. You know, one cycle of a 12 bar blues, and then that's it. Then there's this one, which was the last 3 days, which was I did this one on the stream last time. So if you were watching the stream, you saw this. And I just added to it every day, and now it has lyrics and stuff like that, and a little bit more production. But I wanted to put out the track I did today first. So maybe you've already heard this one. We'll listen to it. This is just the basically like the chorus out. So that trumpet solo, I was just kind of just thinking like diminished scale, but honestly I was like chromatic, whatever, I can play literally any note, it doesn't matter. So this is one of the takes that I did. Yeah. You see how different it is with the post-processing. Cool. So before we close out the stream, I'm gonna mention my latest track, Vigil and Beacon. Vigil/Beacon. This I originally actually had the idea in May when I was seeing the whole Taps Across America thing for Memorial Day. And this was kind of around the time where, I mean, it's been a while. It's May, right? We've been into the pandemic, and we had this term essential workers, people who are essential to the continuation of society, who are getting a lot of lip service, but not a whole lot in the way of support. And basically how people were made to be unwilling martyrs for some reason or another, is to keep society running or to keep the markets from, irreparable damage to the markets. But we're at whatever 200,000 dead, and we sure have a whole lot to show for that, right? So I basically took this idea. It started with the idea of playing taps and then having these striking piano chords, and then that I was like, okay, then maybe I'll go into the anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, and mess with that. I basically had the whole idea just around that time. I just never really got to doing it. It's a little hard to record and work with these really, really like well-known melodies and fuck with them so much, because it feels weird. People are gonna be like, what the hell is that guy doing? But I linked to it in the stream on YouTube, at least. Twitch, you'll just have to go to my YouTube channel, but I'm posting it around. I'll play the first maybe minute, but I encourage people to check it out. And I just did this in like 2 days, basically 2-3 days after I did October, and I was working on that other tune, so I'm on a fucking roll right now, basically. But let's just listen to a couple minutes of this. Just make sure.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
You don't have to listen to the last bit yourself. So anyway, that's the track. Please listen. Please go to my channel. Please subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Send me an email with all your hopes and dreams. And tell me, do you like me? Yes, no. Anyway, that was today's stream. A little later. I've been going pretty short on these Thursday ones, so I was like, yeah, we'll talk about something, just hang out, chill, talk about the October a little bit. Just have a little bit of a reflection about that. Yeah, it was cool. It's like, why would anyone do it now? I know people have been people been having a hard time. But I was like, I don't think you should overexert yourself because you're responding to something draining and demanding, to like try to go 150% in the opposite way just because you feel it's necessary to respond to something that's debilitating or traumatic or whatever in that way. And that's the only way to have like an ownership over something so just powerfully terrible, I guess. But I was like, you know what? If I treat it as just, not really have high expectations and just kind of like going with the flow, but still trying to challenge myself to just kind of just do it, I think that's a good way to approach it. And I think it worked out for me. I definitely needed to recover a little bit afterwards, but I literally haven't since then. I've been working on music every day since then as well. So maybe it's just kind of put me in a groove, It's like writing 20 pages a day might be really hard, but if you have to write like a page a day, like it doesn't seem so bad in comparison, right? So just kind of doing these little bits, working on little things every day is cool. So I have some tunes. Well, there's this, and I have that other tune on the back burner, kind of almost ready to go. And I'm putting stuff together. I think hopefully you'll see very shortly, maybe next year. I want to go back to doing the like Christmas trumpet thing that I've done in the past. Actually, I guess I've only done it twice. I think once was like a repeat. So I want to do another one of the Christmas trumpet thingies this year. I don't know what it'll be this year, but I'll work on that. And then all the other stuff that I'm doing, I'll just kind of be doing for me for now and just kind of hold on to, and then maybe I'll post that later. But that was a Thursday stream. Thanks for tuning in. It's going to be an interesting weekend. Try and have yourself a merry little Christmas or whatever, and have some good, safe, clean fun. And I'll see you on Monday. Try to do some more Kentucky Route Zero, maybe a little bit of Bastion. Who knows? We'll see how I'm feeling. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. See everybody next time. Toodaloo. Bye. Bye.